Welcome to another edition of Cooking with Ed. Today I have a really quick, simple treat for you. We're gonna do some steak and potatoes. In this particular recipe, our attack is going to be to parboil the potatoes. That's to partially boil them, right? I'm gonna throw them in the boiling water that I already have going for about 5 minutes. And what that's gonna do is once we take them out, cool them down so they stop cooking internally, we'll be able to add them to a recipe without having the time it takes to get a potato cooked affected by the fact that we're trying to get them done at the same time as onions, right? Same thing, similar with the steak. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start it on the oven, I'm gonna start it on the stovetop, right? And once I get some grill marks on it, get the char on either side, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it into a hot oven and let it finish there, all right? I'm gonna leave my potatoes a nice size for this. I don't want them to get too soft when I put them in my parboil. Add them to the boiling water. You want to get them out before they're smushy. It's the real goal. With my onion, for this particular recipe, I'm gonna do something what I like to call onion petals. You can cut your onion a million different ways, and I like to play around with it to see what different combinations I can come up with. I find like in a lot of Asian restaurants, they do some very interesting cuts that you wouldn't normally think to do. I always like to stress knife safety. So one thing I always do is keep my eyes focused on my cutting board, my knife, my object, keep a secure grip. All right, we're almost ready to go. I'm gonna season the steak very simply. A little salt, a little pepper, a little garlic and herb seasoning, nothing major. My method of seasoning steak, I like to think, or just food in general, I like to think salt, pepper, green. So it's like salt, pepper, and a herb of some sort, whatever you're going for. There is a herb, there's gonna be a common herb in the recipe. It might be some basil, it could be some parsley. It could be a combination of things, but if I'm going for flavor in a simple way, I will salt, pepper, and put a little herbs on it. All right, everything's prepped up. The meat was the last thing I touched because it's the only potentially hazardous food that I'm dealing with. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of rub the seasonings in for a second, and then I'm gonna wash my hands and we're gonna head over to the stove. All right, I've gotten a couple of things out of the way in the interest of time. I have my pan right here, has some onion sauteing in them. That's gonna help flavor the steak. My pan for my potatoes and onions. I'm just heating that up right now. I want the oil to be hot when I go to use them. My potatoes, I've already put them in the boiling water. I have a timer set. I'm gonna let them do their thing for a second. And when the timer goes off, I'm gonna drain them, and then I'm gonna throw them in the pot with the rest of the onions, all right? But for now, we're gonna deal with the steak. My timer lets me know my potatoes are partially boiled for about long enough. I'm gonna let them sit for just a second, take them over to the stove, and keep moving. All right, the most interesting part about this process is now I'm gonna take this whole pan and put it in the oven, right? We're gonna finish it the rest of the way in the oven. It's a hot oven. I have it set to 425. The way you know they're perfect is you can move them around, you can touch them, you can fiddle with them without them just falling apart. I can't just smush it and crush them, all right? Now I'm gonna let them sit for a bit, all right? I'm not gonna play with them too much. I'm gonna let one side at least get some color to it, give it a little shimmy. Then I'm gonna throw the onions in. While we do that, a little salt, pepper, won't hurt. Another shimmy. You can see it's starting to get some color. Throw in what I like to call my onion petals. If you don't like onions, I guess don't include them, or maybe cut them smaller. But this way, there's no onions hiding really. If somebody doesn't like them, they can pick them right out of the way. When the onions start to sweat, the juices they give off are gonna even help the potatoes soften and cook even faster. All right, potatoes and onions have pretty much cooked themselves. I'm gonna let them be, and now we just wait for the steak, all right? When I pull the steak out of the oven, once the alarm goes off, I'm gonna turn around, we're gonna throw it on the cutting board, and I'm gonna slice it open for you after I let it rest, all right? By touching it, I can tell it's a more well side of medium. We could have definitely taken it out a lot sooner, but when I cut into it, it's still gonna have its pink all the way through, all right? I'm gonna throw this on a plate. We have a very simple man meal. You throw some eggs on the side of this and you're in heaven, all right? So remember, we partially boiled the potatoes. We started the steak on the stove top, and I'm lucky enough to have a cast iron pan that I could put directly into the oven. Otherwise, you could take any baking pan, any oven-safe pan, remove the steak from the frying pan and put it in that pan before you put it in the oven. All right, 425, about 10 minutes, steak,